So I haven't been doing much this week, so I'm just going to talk about One Piece Pirate Warriors 3, because that's what I've been playing recently.
One Piece 海賊無双3
Just kidding, some other stuff happened, but I don't feel like talking about it. I guess other really quick highlights. Chainsaw Man was really good this week. One Piece was really good this week. Minecraft movie trailer came out. It was okay. Kind of feels soulless. They're in front of a green screen half the time, but there's also set, so it's kind of weird. I don't know. I don't think it's gonna work. It looks kind of like boring bad, not like funny bad. I don't know. We'll see what happens. I've never played like a warrior style beat 'em up game that's primarily action focused with goals that they kind of give you. Since it's my first time sinking my teeth in a game like that, I found it pretty fun, but really hard to get into. I'm kind of just going off the top of my head with this video. I just wanted to talk about sort of like the overall journey I had with the game, and then sort of like try to break down the gameplay steps from there. So starting with the beginning of the game, I wasn't used to such vast open spaces that weren't really used that much, really just for action. At first I thought they felt really empty compared to so many other games that I'm used to playing, even games that are prized on isolation, like Pikmin or something. Going to an action-focused game where there's not that much detail in the environments that you can interact with, rather than just placemaking, was an interesting change of pace for the games I was used to playing. As I sort of got into the action, I thought, I don't really play games focused on making combos, or any sort of sequence of action movements that would be eliciting a sort of dopamine inducing response in sort of the visuals that were going on screen. And as I sort of started the game, I couldn't really get attached to it, but I still liked it because it was like One Piece at the end of the day. So I was like, you know what, I'll see this game like through, I'll see if I catch on to it, because it didn't really hook me in at first, but I was still dedicated in seeing if I liked this sort of gameplay. I kind of played it sporadically over the course of like a month, maybe like once a week. It was really hard for me to sink my teeth into. Then I got to the Alabasta stage, and that's when things sort of started clicking for me. I don't have a specific reason why, but I think I sort of understood all the elements that were being thrown at you and the chaos that was sort of ensuing, and having to pursue each goal to try to minimize that chaos. I think that's what kind of caught on to me, and what I realized, like, it's just fun action at the end of the day, and by determining what works best for your given character to use to fight those enemies, it becomes kind of satisfying trying to pull off these amazing chains of moves to get through a horde, while also simultaneously re-experiencing a story that you love at the end of the day. I guess that's the appeal of One Piece Pirate Warriors 3 for me. I have an attachment to these characters. I don't know if it would work if it was sort of another Warriors game, because One Piece is so fleshed out that they could take these characters and they have these movesets already baked in from the series that they could just throw into an action game and it works. They can extrapolate off of a specific action-based story event or specific moves a character does and then add it to the action rotation. So it's kind of like the childish glee of when you saw, like, let's say, like a SpongeBob movie or an episode of SpongeBob, and then you played Battle for Bikini Bottom. It's like the allure of a licensed game where you're experiencing a portion of the story that you kind of get hooked on as a kid, but then you get to experience that in the 3D world. I feel like One Piece as a licensed game sort of fits that mold really well, where One Piece is so vast and large that you can include so many different elements into a single stage, and they could still feel like a fleshed out piece of action rather than a fleshed out piece of story, because they are rushing through the story. You're not thinking in those moments, but they animate certain key moments as you play through the game. And if you've watched One Piece, you can certainly go back to the moment in your head when you first experienced that moment. There are different modes, so there's the main story mode, and then there's like the free log, where you can play any stage without any restrictions, and then the dream log, which is sort of like it's not an RPG, but it's sort of like throwing a mishmash of all the characters and all the different elements from across the story into one stage. And since One Piece is also so grand and vast, you can take from so many different characters and story elements and just throw them in a stage and see what works. Obviously there's no grand story in all of this that compares to anything like One Piece, but it's just fun to like mix and match characters together. It's pretty fun at the end of the day, and I guess that's the allure of an action game like this, and maybe just 3D fighting games, or maybe even like other 2D fighting games. Like, I don't know much about Marvel vs. Capcom, but I guess that's the allure there, but it'd be more competitive, and there'd be a more engaging community about, you know, a fighting game that's sort of tailored to a 1v1 experience. But I've gotten addicted to the sort of cycle between playing a piece of the story mode, then going to the free log and the dream log and sort of leveling up all the characters, getting coins, and using those coins to, contribute to the skills and traits of characters, which boost their abilities. So when they go back in the story mode, the next story event becomes vastly easier than it was before. I like the loop of just like story mode, free log, dream log, then story mode, and then the next story mode becomes vastly easier as I play through the game. And then revisiting other pieces of the story mode to sort of get all the treasure events, so then I can use those coins to then level up the characters. It's just a nice feedback loop. I did like some preliminary research on which one to start with, and I picked 3 because it just sort of seemed that 1 and 2 were experimenting with the formula and what worked for One Piece, and 3 sort of had the best of, the first 2 games, and it had much more story content. And playing through the game, it seems pretty polished. I'm playing the Switch version. I'm surprised that it's even running on this thing. I mean, there's not like that much real-time shading or lighting. Just being able to play through the game like this has been really fun. Even if at times it becomes mindless, but you have to engage with it in order for it to become mindless action, if you know what I mean. Like, let's say you choose a new character, right? You have to spend time knowing that character's style in order to use them. But after, you play maybe a story mode stage and then like a free log stage, then you sort of know what you default to and you know what combos work. Then you can just leave that into your natural moveset. And so then I guess it becomes mindless. But as long as you're switching up characters, it could still be pretty fun and engaging. I've tried to use many of the characters. I don't try to stick with one character. I'm leveling up all the Straw Hats. I'm trying to use other characters like Ivankov and Jinbei and Ace, and I tried Shanks the most recently. I think that was the most recent new character. And just seeing like all the flourishes that they make for the hockey that he uses, especially considering I don't think he used Divine Departure yet in the anime or the manga when this came out. So it's like they're extrapolating so much of Shanks just based off like Romance Dawn and when he met Blackbeard. Like there's it's so funny how little we know of Shanks, because this game goes only up to like halfway of Dressrosa. So it's just wild to see. One Piece is so long and it's been out for so many years, but they feel like there's so few elements that they're able to incorporate or that they knew would be popular for them to incorporate. Like, I got to Sabo, the archipelago, and Kid's just not in the story mode at all. Kid's just not in this game, because they're like, Law is important for Dressrosa, we're just not gonna include any of the other supernovas, because Law's the guy at the time. Now it's like, oh, Kid and Bonnie are really important. The only other one I remember their name of is Uroge, because they're the only one who hasn't gotten story content, and then I'm thinking about theories I had about Uroge, but the point is they didn't include any major characters that weren't relevant at the time of Dressrosa. So it's funny to see holes in like what was included and what wasn't, because they just kind of picked and choose what would be good to throw in there. I'm totally gonna forget to talk about something because this is just a completely unscripted video, but that's sort of like my experience with the game so far. I'm all the way up to Fishman Island. I haven't played the Fishman Island stage. I mean, I technically have in like the dream log, but I haven't played the Fishman Island stage in the story mode. So I'm almost done with the game, and it's just really fun, and I love the gameplay loop, and I've been playing a ton of it this past week. I guess some of my favorite characters to play would probably be Luffy, Zoro, and Robin. I just like their gameplay styles, and I can just mix it up. But again, I try to play like all the characters in the game. And I'm excited for the big run starting tonight, so that's going to be kind of wild. Splatoon reference, oh my gosh. I mentioned Splatoon. Yeah, no, that's about it. Okay, special tidbit if you got to the end. I had my first interview after like 130 job applications. Yippee, let's go.